Okay, I suppose here we are. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michał Bordukiewicz. I'm representing here whyr Foundation, and it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce Heidi Seibold from the University of Munich and Bielefeld. So you can read a very detailed bio of Heidi and her achievements under our video, but just few words of introducing her. Heidi is a very passionate artificial intelligence scientist. That means that in her research, she's really concerned about not only applications of AI, but also applying it in a responsible and also sensible manner. That means that also that aside from her ventures into personalized medicine, Heidi made quite a bit of effort to work on the reproducibility of scientific research, which is a still untouched but deeply important field. So, and also in the long, Heidi is very passionate about teaching. And today's topic, teaching machine learning online, is especially relevant due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but also due to the very interest of Heidi in teaching teaching her students not only well, but also in a way that they will be able to use their knowledge. So without any further ado, I'm very happy, Heidi, that you are sharing with us your experience in this area, your expertise. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you very much for having me here and for organizing this. And it's all so incredibly cool and professional. It's also nice to see that there's also a lot of people who are watching it right now. So welcome to everyone. And yeah, let me share my screen with you and then we'll get started. Okay. Here we go. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about teaching machine learning online today. And this is a joint work with a lot of people. And I know some of the people are listening right now. And I'm going to talk about the group of people who are involved in this course in just a minute. The slides are available online. And also you can reuse the slides as well as the teaching material. So what does this talk about? It's about a course that we call Intro to ML. So it's an introductory course on machine learning for people with a basic statistics and mathematics background. The material are all online under the website shown here. So what does the website look like? Let's take a quick look at that. So if you go to the website, you see the following. You see a couple of pages with the content, the courses that I've been teaching in the past few weeks, the team, the license, the references, and some changes that we've made in the past. Then on the main page here, you see some important information like prerequisites and that we're open for feedback and new contributors to the course, and also that we have an open license. Then the main part of the website is obviously the course content. The content is based around these learning compendia that are the core really of this course with all the different topics that we teach. Besides that, we show also the videos and slide on the website, which are part of the learning compendia as well. So for each slide deck, we have the link to the YouTube video and the corresponding playlist. So you see that there's a lot of videos and slide decks, but that's because they're reasonably short to make it more pleasant for the students to watch. Then we have the more technical part. So we use a lot of the R package MLR3. So that's an important part. And the code demos show a little bit more the technical side of the course content. And then we have the exercises and solutions, as well as some cheat sheets that the students can look at. We're still working on more cheat sheets. These are the ones that are available now, but we'll have cheat sheets available for all of the sections of the course. So yeah, I already mentioned that some of the people from the course are watching right now, and I think at least Bernd and Christoph are watching. And but there's a couple of people involved in this course. So Bernd Bischel is the one who started or had the idea for this project of creating an introduction to machine learning course online. And then Fabian Seibold is a big part of the course. And the three of us, we have created the videos for the current version of the course. So if you already took a look at the course website, you might have seen some videos by one of us. Then I have to mention Daniel Schalk and Christoph Mollner, who are the people who taught the course before me. So this is the third year that we're teaching this course. I taught it twice this year in both universities that I work at. And Daniel and Christoph taught the course in the 2 previous years. Then we have the 2 working students, Tobias Pilok and Rifat Amin, who are a great help in producing the online materials like the exercise sheets and the cheat sheets. And then since we're so closely connected to MLR3, so the course builds a lot on the MLR3 package as one of the main machine learning packages for R, we already also really depend on the contributions from the MLR3 team. And in particular, Patrick Schratz is someone I have to mention here because he was super helpful this year in being an expert in the course. So he came into the course to talk a little bit about the details of MLR3 and to share his wisdom about using machine learning in R. So you see that this course is created by people who do open source. So I am an R developer and the other people involved in this course are also R developers. So we are very much into open source software. And for us, it's only reasonable to have a course like this in a similar fashion. So to think about open education in the same way as we think about open source software. So that's why we have this course now under very open license. So we had a different license before, but so that was also an open license, but we made it even more easy for others to reuse the material now, since we see that this course material might be very helpful for a lot of teachers during those days. So if you want, you are free to share and adapt the material that's available now. The only thing you should do is give us credit for reusing it. If you're actually teaching a course using our course material, it would be really cool if you tell us, because that will help us to keep the project alive, to get additional funding, and it will also obviously boost our motivation. So what's this course like? What do we actually, how do we actually teach this course? So the course is designed as a flipped classroom course. What does that mean? In a normal lecture, we would have a classroom of students that listen to a lecturer, and then they go home and have some homework to do. And then potentially there's an exercise class where students again go to class and listen to a lecturer. So we turn this whole thing around and we have the lecture part as videos so that the students can actually watch the videos in the comfort of their home. And then when they come to class, we use that to have a very interactive class. So we have a lot of group work, discussions, solving questions, and exercise sheets. So it's all about discussing and talking to each other in the in-person sessions. So what are the building blocks of this course? You already saw a little bit of it. So we have the online videos, plus we have coding exercises online that students can solve and get immediate feedback on how well they're doing. And we have online quizzes that accompany the videos where students can fill out the quizzes and get immediate feedback on whether they're correct or not. So they can watch the videos and then get to know if they really understood what they learned. Additionally, we have the MLR3 book, because that's very important for us to give the students the background that they need for the practical part. So for practically using machine learning with R. And then additionally, we have some exercise sheets and solutions available for the students to solve. These are regular exercise sheets like you would have in any other machine learning class. Additionally, we have some code demos that are show more the technical side, how to implement certain methods in R. And then we have the cheat sheets that give a little bit of an overview on the individual parts of the lecture. But we don't only have this online materials. As I said, we have also these in-person sessions that I find are very important, so that students can discuss with their peers, but also with the people who teach the class, to really understand all the material in depth, and so that they can ask questions and see what others don't also understand. So this is a very important part of this class, I think. So what are the things that students do at home? So the coding exercises, videos, quizzes, and then the MLR3 book are the things that they mostly look at online at home. And the exercise sheets and solutions, code demos, and cheat sheets are the things that we use more in the in-person sessions. Now, of course, in the current situation, at class is also at home, because we're not actually allowed to go to the classroom. So currently, all of the lecture halls look like this, because we're not allowed to teach lectures in a lecture hall anymore. So what do we do? For us, we were really, really lucky, because we had all this material online already, right? So only the in-person session was something that we had to figure out. And what we did was to move the lecture online as well. So the in-person session was also an online session, but in real time, so in live. Just like we're using here, we're using Zoom for this webinar. This is also what we used for the in-person session. And we still try to keep it as interactive as regular in-person sessions of this course would be. So having a class remote is a bit different than having a class in person, right? So what are things that can happen? Internet connection problems is something that really happens a lot. And I think this is not only the case in Germany, but this is still a regular problem that people have in these online meetings. I'm sure you're all having online meetings a lot these days, and some people have connection problems or other computer problems throughout the calls, which we also experienced. Also, of course, there's a lot of disturbances when you work from home. A lot of the students, for example, have kids, or I had some students who were not able to come back to Germany, so they were on holidays and were stuck in some place on the other side of the world, following the class in the middle of the night, which was pretty awesome, but at the same time, really weird for them, especially since one of the students was stuck in a hostel and was not able to really talk out loud, because it was the night and the other people were sleeping. It has some upsides as well. So it's nice for the students to, learn from the comfort of the home. And I really got some positive feedback as well from the course, also on like how sometimes the online sessions were actually better than it would have been in person. So how did we actually do that? How did we do this class in practice? One thing that I find even more important if you do a class virtually is to be welcoming, to be friendly, also to allow for laughter and a relaxed atmosphere, really. And for that, I used some warm-up things in the beginning of each class, so that the students would feel comfortable in talking and also being relaxed. Another thing that I already mentioned is we now, with this online situation, we have to expect that internet connection, also even problems that students don't really have internet at all or can't follow the in-person class at all. Other difficult situations like students having to care for their children and being only able to join 1 or 2 hours a day. These are all situations that I totally understand, and that you have to, as a teacher, I think, make sure that those students aren't left behind. What I did was I tried to communicate all the important points also in written form. So we used Moodle as an online learning platform. You can use any other tool that you use to communicate with your students. It's also good if they have a way of contacting you back in case they have some questions, if they couldn't join the in-person virtual lecture. Also, if students lose internet connection, it's important to allow them to come back into the virtual session, which is sometimes a setting in these online video conference tools. So Zoom has sometimes these waiting rooms, which I would turn off in a lecture session, because you don't notice when people drop out and then want to come back in because you're nervous or talking, and then you're distracted. You don't see them coming back in and knocking on the door. What we used a lot in the online sessions were the breakout rooms that, for example, tools like Zoom have. So you can imagine a breakout room like a sub virtual conference of the main room in Zoom. So what happens is I sort the students into breakout rooms, and then they see a pop-up that they can join a breakout room. And then if they click OK, then they go into another session where they see fewer people than they saw before, but everything else is almost the same. They additionally have this little button that says ask for help, which is awesome for group work, because then the students can work in the groups on their own. And they really did that very well. I was super excited to see students discussing and really having a good time while also learning something. And if they had a question, they click this little button, and then I get a pop-up that says, this group has a question. Do you want to join the breakout room? And then I can join the breakout room and answer their questions. So that was really, really nice. And students reported back to me that this way they were really even more likely to ask questions than they would be in an in-person session. Allowing to ask questions is one of the most important things, I think, in such a flipped classroom setting, because that's what the in-person sessions are all about. So I also tried to have, when there were moments where I had longer stretch where I talked, to ask a lot if they had any questions, right? And additionally, if they didn't want to talk or unmute themselves and just speak out in front of everyone else, I allowed them to write down their questions. And for that, we used an Etherpad. So we used the Etherpad for both questions and also other things. And I would like to try that with you, because maybe not all of you know what actually an Etherpad is, and you're asking yourself, what the heck is an Etherpad? Please go to this link here. So this is the long link. You can use this short link, or if you have a QR code scanner, you can use that. And then you can actually type into this Etherpad. So I'm gonna wait for a quick moment for you to get there. And then I'll also click on the link. Oops. And I see that a lot of you have already started writing in here. So this is the nice thing about the Etherpad. It's really an easy tool for people to enter. So you can see again the link here if you weren't quick enough. And then you can have students, or in this case now you, add some some text in there. So it's very interactive. People can write in there, and each person has a different color. But unless you actually put your name in here, so if you click here, you see that all these people didn't actually put their name. So I don't see the students' names, but I do see if one and the same person is writing all of the stuff, or if it's different people who are writing. So I see a lot of people are already adding some text and what they like and where they're from, which is really nice to see. So keep that coming. I think that's really interesting to us and also to the whyr folks. So yeah, this is what an Etherpad is, and this is how you can use it. So I don't only use that for online teaching, I use it for teaching in general a lot. I think it's really fun, and the students seem to like it as well. You can use it from your phone or also from your computer, which is great. Yeah, so let's go on. What are actually the different contents? What do they look like in detail? So what the students have to go through before they come into the in-person class is the learning compendia. And the learning compendia consist of the videos, the coding exercises, and the quizzes. And sometimes they're also asked to take a look at the MLR3 book. So let's look at that as well. I prepared all of that as videos because I felt like it might be easier for me to do during the session here. So at the top left, you see always the name of the learning compendium, and then you get some videos and some quizzes. So each learning compendium consists of several subtopics. We have study goals that we have for each section, so theoretical and practical. Then again, the videos, some online quizzes, and sometimes there's also coding exercises. So let's wait until we see the last page where we see actually here we see some coding exercises as well, which is actually really easy to implement, and I'll show how to implement that in a second. So now if you actually want to try out and see if you really understood what this video was about, you can fill in the quiz, and this time I'm doing it incorrectly. So it says, oh, this was incorrect. These 3 things would have been the right solutions. And if you go to the coding exercises, you can get some hints if you don't know what to do, and then you can try to get to the right solution, but you also get immediate feedback. Okay, so that's what the students are supposed to do at home. And then in the in-person session, what does a day look like as part of this course? So the course right now is designed to have 5 days. And each day of the course starts, we started this year at 9:30, where we first did like a welcome session. Then we discussed any questions that students might have. And then in breakout groups, the students discussed solutions of the exercise sheet from the last day, but they were obviously shuffled in a different way than they were in the previous day, so that each student would be with other different students than they had been the day before. After that, we usually do a break, and then we see a code demo that lasts around 40 minutes, and then we have a lunch break. And after the lunch break, students work on the new exercise sheet of the new day, and then they usually leave between 3 and 5 when they are done with the exercise sheet. The way I do that with the exercise sheet is I give each breakout group, or each group, I give a task. So there's usually 4 to 6 tasks on an exercise sheet, and I make each group responsible for 1 or 2 tasks on the exercise sheet. So they're supposed to really be able to explain the solution to the others the next day, so that they're really confident to do that, and that the work breakout groups of the next day really work in the morning. Of course, during these breakout sessions, so during the solutions and during the solving of the exercise sheets each day, I make sure that students feel like they're allowed to ask me into the breakout rooms to ask any questions that they might have. So then what do the code demos look like? Here again, we go to the website to look at the code demos. We have our Markdown files, but also the PDFs, so that students can use both, whatever they prefer. And then each of the code demos consists of a little bit of theory background, repetition of the videos, and then some coding exercises, applied coding exercises, but also more technical coding exercises. So for example, here we're trying to implement the k-nearest neighbors algorithm. And this is something that students in the first year asked for, because they felt like they really wanted to know how to do these things by themselves. Then finally, you probably also want to know what the exercise sheets look like. So they are also linked on the website, and you can go to an exercise sheet like this. And then what the exercise sheet contains are a mix of more theoretical questions and applied questions, and again, coding exercises. So it's really a mix of different things. Most of the tasks are really both applied and some theory, or making students repeat things and see if they understood, but we also provide the solution for each task. We're asking the students to not look at the solution while they're trying to solve the exercise, because that's how they learn more. But obviously they can look at the solution because it's online. And yeah, I think they're all adults, so they can decide by themselves. That was almost all of the contents. Then we, of course, have the cheat sheets. The cheat sheets look like this. So it's really a summary of a section of the course in one page, with some formulas, but also sometimes smaller graphics that really explain the core concepts of this chapter of the course. So the people who are in this webinar are really are enthusiasts, or at least many of them probably. So you probably also want to learn how we created this course and what about this course is actually related to R. And I'll start with the learning compendia, because there it's really clear. So the learning compendia are created using an R package that's called LearnR. And those of you who have watched really closely, the learning compendia actually live on a Shiny server. So LearnR, how does it work? It's actually just a bunch of our Markdown files that are specified in a certain way. So if you look at the learning compendia GitHub page, this is what you see for the learning compendium that we looked at. And you see that there's just a CSS folder, and then there's our Markdown files. And then there's our Markdown files for each individual section of the learning compendium, and main R Markdown that combines them all into this one thing that we saw earlier. So how do we implement things? For example, how do we implement quizzes? It's actually really simple. So at the bottom here, we see what we saw in the learning compendium, and at the top, we see the content of the R Markdown file. So it's really essentially, again, like in any R Markdown files, it's a combination of Markdown and then R code chunks. And to create a question like this, a quiz like this, you can just use the function question, And then in there, you use the functions answer, and for the correct answers, you put the argument correct equals to true. So it's really that simple, and that's how you get the thing that we saw earlier. Then for creating the coding exercises, it's a little bit more work than for the quizzes, but it's also really straightforward. Again, you have markdown text to put down the question. So here again on the top, we see the contents that you would see in the markdown file, our markdown file, and at the bottom, we see the output as the student sees it. So we have markdown text, and then we have our code chunks. And here we have several chunks. So we have one chunk for the thing that the student sees. So the first chunk is really what you see at the bottom, what the student sees in the beginning. Then when the students hits the button hints, then they get to see hints. And here we show the first chunk for the first hint. There's several hints for this exercise, so there's more hints there. And then finally, you also have to have a solution chunk that shows the correct solution so that the students can actually evaluate if their solution is correct. And this is actually done automatically so that the students get feedback right away. Okay, so that's it about Learner actually. So it's really very simple. If you know our Markdown, using Learner is really not very difficult, and you can host it on any Shiny server. Then for creating the website, we're actually using a little trick. So since we're R users, we know how to create R packages. We know how to create package down websites. So we just are misusing actually package down the R package to create these R package websites to create our website. So how are we doing it? So we essentially just make a repository look a little bit like an R package, and then package down just works. So this is what our GitHub repository looks like, and it's a bit small, but if you go look at our GitHub repository, you'll find files like the description file or folder called vignettes. So things that you would see also in an R package, and that package down uses to create the website. In the vignettes folder, we actually have the different pages. So for example, the content page and the team page that you saw earlier in the video. So yeah, we're essentially misusing package down to create a website. It's maybe not the most elegant way, but I think for us as our users, it's a very straightforward way, and we know how to handle package down and how to handle our packages. Obviously, GitHub is also part of a major part of the backbone of the course. So we're using standard Git workflows to work together. Since we're a bigger team, we need to work with branches to not have problems working together. And we use issues as anyone else would. We're always a bit sad if it goes beyond 100 issues. So we have a special issue that we open when we're more than 100 issues to warn that it's so many issues now that we have to work on that a little bit. So yeah. What does the future look like? Where do we want to go in the future? We obviously are really excited about this course. We want to grow the course further and have some other courses like this as well. And for that, we think we might need a different or more, a more elaborate platform eventually. So if you have any suggestions for online course platforms that are that work with our Git workflow, I'd be super happy if you could give us any hints. Also, what we want to do and what we've started already is to increase the modularity of the course. Like we would do in a bigger or growing software project, modularity helps us to keep the course growing, but keep keep it good at the same time. So what we did this year was to decrease the length of the videos and also to make sure that they're not too interconnected, so that we could take the little building blocks, the videos, and create new courses with different different videos. So maybe we could create a shorter course now, or also eventually a longer course with different building blocks. And yeah, that's the aim. Also, one thing that we would really like to see in the future is to have, instead of a course with R and MLR, to see the same course with Python and scikit-learn, for example. And that should be reasonably easy at some point if we have enough modularity of the course. Before I finish, I want to talk very shortly about the conference, Use Our European Hub, because I'm not only involved in this Introduction to Machine Learning course, but I'm also the chair of this conference. So Use Our European Hub is the satellite conference of the main Use Our in St. Louis. And obviously there we're having the same issues as we're having with the course right now, is that we can't have an in-person meeting this year in July. So we're trying to figure out what we're going to do. We do know that it's not going to be in person. We're waiting for the decisions from St. Louis, because we also really want to depend on what they say. But so essentially, the only thing I can say about this now is that we're still trying to figure it out. And I'm really thankful for all of the R community to be so patient with us and understanding that we're not any faster in making decisions. This is a big decision, and it's a difficult time to be a conference organizer, I can tell you. But yeah, if you're hearing about this the first time, then you'll probably, you can follow us on Twitter, and you'll probably get some updates in the upcoming weeks about how we're gonna deal with the situation. I think we'll be able to give the R community a stage in one way or another, but we don't know yet how we're gonna do it. So with that, I want to finish up. Again, the entire course is available online under an open license. We're very excited if you want to reuse the course materials for your machine learning course. Please tell us if you do. Also, if you don't teach, but you just want to learn about machine learning, you can obviously use the course materials by yourself. In any case, it's freely available, it's open, it's on GitHub. You can contribute also if you want to. Pull requests are always welcome. Open issues are always welcome. Yeah, just like in any R project that you would usually see. You can contact me, of course, as well through my email address, or I'm also on Twitter. And the slides from today are also available under an open license, and feel free to use my drawings if they're useful to you in any way. So for that, I'm done, and I'm really excited to hear your questions and hope I can answer them.
So, Heidi, first and foremost, thank you for your talk. And second, it's really amazing. I am quite shocked by the sheer size of the project. I know that every teacher is making always notes and scripts and so on, but I fully see the amount of coordination, organization necessary to compile all these materials into this wonderful thingy. It's really impressive, and you know, I really think it's looking really amazingly. But Heidi, so let's focus on the questions from the chat. I saw there a very heated discussion. Firstly, how to stimulate, would you be able to provide examples of warming up in class to relax students? You mentioned, and I think it's really important in a highly stressful or remote environment.
Yeah, so of course I can do that. What I did usually do in the morning is I have a question at the top of the Etherpad, like I had today, that are sometimes fun or easy to answer. So for example, like, what's your favorite thing in the world is something that people can think about in the morning and think, oh, this is nice, I really like cycling, and then put cycling in there, then they're already happy and they know what the others are writing. And this is how we always started the morning, with a small funny question or funny answers, things that everyone could relate to warm up, get started with some easy talk, also to allow for some extra time for students to come in if they're late because they had technical issues. So this is one example what we did in the mornings.
Okay, so one of the important question is about tooling. So I think it was from the Wattpad actually. So some people are not allowed to use Zoom. There are security concerns, and I think not everyone is able to run the software also because it's paid. So what do you have any experience with other types of the software for facilitating remote teaching?
So that's a good question. And I think that Zoom, there's a lot of discussions about Zoom right now. And I think there are really important discussions to be had. We decided on Zoom because of the breakout room functionality, but I know that there's other tools, also open source tools like Jitsi, for example, that have similar functionalities and that are really, really nice. So the thing that I know of is Jitsi, that's open source and that can be hosted by anyone by themselves. I know our university computing center hosts actually their own Jitsi instance, and it seems to be working similar to Zoom. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, so the next one. Do you have any analytics exactly how much time of specific parts of the course our students are spending? How many of them are watching the whole videos, or how many of them are just skimming through the thing? Do you have any stats on that?
That's an excellent question. And that's one of the reasons why we're looking for a more advanced platform, because we have no idea. We don't know at all. So we don't even know whether the students are doing the quizzes. We have no idea whether they're watching the videos. We do get the stats from YouTube, but I have no idea if it's actually the students watching the videos or if it's just random people. So we see that there's more people watching the videos than just the students, but I have no idea if the people who watch it just for a short time are the external people or if it's the students. But what I saw from the discussions in the in-person classes, I felt like the students were actually prepared. And what I have to say, I was really repeating a lot of times that it's very, very important that they do watch the videos before coming into class. So I said it like 10 times before the class actually started that they had to do that. So I think that's really important to remind them quite a lot to do that, because they're not used to this flipped classroom setting usually. So they usually use that they go into the lecture and then everything is presented before them. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have no idea.
So, are there any types of student code submissions in the course that you grade by hand?
Yes, there's the final exam. So this year, this is going to be a bit tricky. So for the course in Bielefeld, I don't actually know yet what we're going to do. So in Bielefeld, we wanted to do an oral exam. So probably it might be also using a video conferencing tool, but I have no idea really how we're going to do it. And for the Munich class, I already knew a little bit more, and I was able to adjust more because it was also a little bit later. And there we now ask the students to work in groups. and to prepare a small machine learning project that they could choose by themselves, with some restrictions, of course, and some requirements that the project has to have. And then now the submission will be a video where they explain what they did in their little project, and also the R code. And that will be what we grade for them. But otherwise, during the in-person sessions or during the class, we didn't expect from them anything that they submitted, because they get the immediate feedback from the online part, and they have the opportunity to ask any questions during the in-person sessions. And yeah, we just hope that they did try to solve the exercises, and that the solutions that we provide, plus the possibility to ask questions, are enough.
This question was answered partially during the talk and in the comments, but maybe we could clarify it completely right now. So what is the usual time frame, so number of days or weeks of the course, and how many students take part in the one course? And also adding to this, how you split students into these breakout groups?
Okay, so many questions at once. So how many days? We teach it as a block course, so it's 5 days. We try to spread the 5 days not within 1 week. So I did that in Bielefeld, but I tried to spread it more in Munich, because the students seem to like it better when they have sometimes a day in between where they can catch up or relax a little bit. But it's the idea is that it's right now, the way the course is designed, this may change in the future, by the way, it's 5 full days, so from 9:30 till 3 to 5. So depending on how long the students take to solve the exercise sheet. So usually they stayed until like 4 or so. There was another question. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, how do you split students in breakout groups?
In the breakout rooms, yeah. So the functionality in Zoom is such that it's the easiest if you split them up randomly. So you just create these breakout rooms, and then you just decide how many breakout rooms you want, and then the students are assigned randomly. So of course, what I wanted for the discussions of the solutions, so for those breakout rooms, it was a bit more difficult, because I wanted to have each breakout room such that there would be at least one student who was capable of explaining the solution to the others. So there we used a combination of the breakout rooms and me having the possibility to move students around, plus the Etherpad. So the students were assigned to the breakout rooms, and then they would tell me if there's enough students from each who can explain each solution. And if there weren't, then I reassigned them to other breakout rooms. That was a bit of a inconvenient way of doing it, but I think the students thought it was also a bit fun, so it was okay. But it took us a little bit of time, but yeah, that's functionality that was not perfect yet. I think that could be better, that students could, for example, choose a breakout room or something like that.
I think we are out of the questions from the audience, so let me ask my own. So you talk a lot how you are helping students in dealing with the remote setting, and I fully understand that it's stressful and it's really challenging, but it's also challenging and stressful for you. So as a teacher, for example, how do you deal with the lack of the feedback, with the lack of the interaction, all these little things that you are really on all these little visual clues that you are using to judge how the students are grasping the material?
That's a very good question, and that was actually something that I was really worried about beforehand, because I really like teaching students and getting their feedback, getting information on how they're feeling about the course at the moment. So what I did, I used the Etherpad to get feedback from them early on to see what they liked and what they didn't like. So already on the second day, I asked them what they liked about the first day. And then I also asked students to turn on their video camera so that I would have a broad spectrum of faces in front of me for most of the time. And then I asked them to give me visual clues about whether they understood. So when I asked, are there any questions? Then I also said, hey, can you please shake your head if you don't have any questions? And then I saw like 15 faces going like this. And that was really, really nice and actually really fun to see. Yeah, and also like, I often ask, so is this clear? And then people get used to giving you this feedback if you ask them to. So if you say a lot, hey, can you nod if you understood? And then they all sit there. And then at some point you don't have to ask them anymore because they're doing it by themselves. That really worked well for me. Of course, I didn't see all of the students. Some didn't turn on the video, which is obviously also fine. Yeah. That's what I did, but I was really, really nervous before the first day. I have to say that.
I can certainly see all the how stressful it is, but going to the very end of our discussion, the whole project is very inspiring. The vision is really something very compelling for me to use open software to make open education. It's something that I really like. So what is the final scope? Because I know that I think that MLR free book is almost ready or is going to be ready soonish. And what's next?
Well, we have other courses. So I'm saying this for Bernd right now because he's like the mastermind behind all of this. But we have other courses that we teach at the university and that are currently in the phase of moving more online. And we would like to have really a platform where we have a combination of these courses. We have a lot of our courses as well that can be hosted in a similar fashion. So it would be nice to have a collection of all these courses. I'm also involved in another project that's not at our university. It's called The Turing Way. It's an online book for, currently it's mostly reproducible data science, but it's also growing. And for that, it would be nice to also have more learning material than just the book, but also have some videos and stuff for the Turing Way as well, which is also a really nice online resource that could grow into so much more than a book. And just a quick shout out to the Turing Way folks, if anyone's listening. This is really a project that I'm super excited about. Yeah, these are things that are growing right now. And I think we'll have a lot of really cool online material very soon because we're forced to have it, but also because we're excited about it.
You know, I really enjoy how you are making something positive out of this COVID situation. It's really refreshing to finally hear some good news. So I'm really happy that you are, let's say, making this very drastic situation into a very positive impact into machine learning community. But just because you mentioned reproducible science, so for example, anything into into introductory statistics, for example, something like this can also happen in your workflow.
So we're currently so our group is currently not teaching introductory statistics courses, but of course at our university people are, and they're all creating videos right now. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen there. If anyone is creating material like that, feel free to get in touch. Maybe we can build up a platform together or something, or host it on a similar platform. This is basically, I think we can have contributions there and grow this together. I think this is something that's not on something that we are working on in particular right now, but I'm happy to contribute and help if someone else wants to create it.
Sounds really awesome. So Heidi, I think we are out of the questions. thank you very much for your talk. It was really captivating, and I must admit, the scope of the project is really it is both enormous and really inspiring. So thank you again for being with us this evening, and thank to you, our audience, for your attention during the webinar and the active discussion on the chat. It's really something that we have for the first